What did we not learn from the COVID pandemic that we really should have? How did we, the people of the US, not get Medicare for all, after going through a pandemic? I am 100% convinced that part of the distrust of COVID vaccines and vaccines in general is the lack of familiarity access to a trusted medical professional. In this country you cannot just take half a day to go to the doctor, you need to make sure they're in your provider's coverage, that the hospital is covered, etc. It's a fucking set of hoops you have to jump through. God forbid you need to see a specialist, you have to track them down as well. 1. To stay home when you are sick. 2. To wash your hands. 3. How vaccines actually work. 4. How many people actually died or are disabled from COVID. 5. Which masks were the most effective. 6. Saying shit like, well only old and disabled people are dying from it, is fucking gross and ableist as hell. 7. That COVID is still going strong and that we should still at the very least be wearing masks in crowds. Around 1 in 40 people had COVID during the holidays. 8. Not to give the wealthy even more opportunities to exploit the working class. Compassion towards one another. I worked at a grocery store during COVID and any tiny bit of faith I had in humanity was completely destroyed. I saw people buying in bulk because they were so worried about themselves and just not caring about anyone else being able to find food. People in general were pretty awful to each other. Everyone just wanted to take out their fear and frustration on the person next to them. That was the last customer service job I ever had and I'll never go back to working with the public in that way ever again. Lots of good points here already, so I'll add something a little bit different: the importance of the arts. So many struggled without the ability to see live music, have new movies, TV shows, and many people enjoy doing art and craft with their kids at home. After COVID it seems like people forgot about how much importance arts have in their life and how it makes people enjoy life. A lot of these people don't value arts education and can't see the point of the kids learning an instrument or anything to do with art. Masks. Masks were for the insane who were going to yell and split saliva particles in the face of the person who wasn't masked. It was a symbol, not a preventative measure. Jail guards don't put spit hoods on their own heads when they bring in a drunken spitter. Social distancing. 6 feet was a good distance so a masked nut job couldn't swing on the person behind them who wasn't masked. Somebody with the NIH or WHO pulled this number out their ass and everyone else said F it, let's run with it. That the entire country will very easily and quickly turn over all of their freedom to the government and then quickly become a propaganda mouthpiece for their lies. How do I know this? Because COVID is still very much around and less than one of you wear a mask when you go out now. Hospitals don't even require them. But nobody thinks that's strange at all, and I'm sure I'll get downvoted because people will think I'm an anti-vaxxer. Peace. I'm vaccinated. That these companies don't give two flying FKS about us will replace us in a heartbeat. 17 years with a company guy I knew. 17 years. Dies from COVID. Not even a memorial for him. I don't get it, man. I really don't. Anytime I see public stories about employees at a company winning better pay, treatment, hours, benefits, so many Americans mock them, jump to the defense of the corporations, companies, etc. I don't get it. People are selfish and will kill you and your entire family because they believe some nonsense they saw on Facebook. Our food supply in the US is 48 to 72 hours away from armed revolt. We long suspected our government was completely inept, now we have undeniable proof. Giving people a universal basic income helps keep things moving, and artificially inflates the price of dirt bikes and housing. We learned preppers, survivalists that claimed they were willing and able to live alone in isolation were in many cases also the people complaining about having to stay home in isolation and whining about not being able to go to the store. I personally think this just showed what they really wanted was to be able to shoot their neighbors and others during the mythical coming apocalypse. That some people are stupid enough to equate wearing a mask to avoid getting sick, to atrocities committed by totalitarian governments. They'll claim that it is a total violation of their rights, yet them trying to impose their particular interpretations of their religion is perfectly fine, and on top of that, their beliefs should supersede everyone else's beliefs or lack of beliefs. Looks like people fell back into old habits like coming to work sick instead of staying home. I had an appointment with my oncologist and the woman at the front desk was having coughing fits the whole time I was there. I don't understand how she wasn't sent home considering the people in that waiting room possibly with compromised immune systems. She didn't even have a mask on. Fucking everything. Trump was ended a disaster on a silver platter to unite all Americans and to be seen as a leader. And he completely blew it, but downplaying it, promoting conspiracy theories, not wearing masks because of fucked up his bronzer, and just generally being a clueless idiot about it. Instead, it only made the growing rift between Americans become more massive. To not be selfish pricks. I still to this day don't understand why toilet paper was being bought up like gold. If you shit that much, just hop in the shower. I worked in retail during COVID, and there were legit fights and arguments over toilet paper. I really wish we had a social credit score so people can live with the fact they acted like asses over toilet paper. We're currently in the second highest surge of the entire pandemic. Over 1,500 people are dying per week in the US alone, so I say based on the phrasing of the question we haven't learned that perception is reality. A bumbling President Trump couldn't hide it. A somewhat less bumbling president with the media on his side, Biden, has hidden it. Always question your assumptions. The most interesting thing I remember is that doctors believed a completely false model mechanics of droplet travel distance. A mining engineer was like, "You're all wrong," and they promptly told her to SDFU. Took a month to convince CW the doctors they were wrong and get them to revise the social distancing. Every employee should get paid sick leave, period. Do you really want sick people waiting on you in the restaurant or store because they don't have sick leave, or they will be fired for not coming to work? It is uncivilized and inhumane to not accommodate people when they are too ill to be working. Having PTO and sick leave for low-wage workers, I got screwed the first year when waiting for the test results to get back at the start. A week and a half of work missed. I will be happy for a self-funded sick leave, think a 529 plan, but for sick leave or PTO you get to use when you miss work. Spacing in public places. One great thing during COVID days was that lines were adequately spaced and you didn't have some 45-year-old man breathing down your neck while in line. Nowadays we went right back to it and lines are back to everyone on top of each other for no good reason. The amount of time spent commuting to and from work on jobs that could easily be done at least partly from home. One thing we did learn that we've kept is virtual meetings. Not all the time, but definitely more convenient for people attending at least part of the time. That acting with compassion is dangerous when we use it as an excuse for not reproaching bad behavior, for example not failing students in school who didn't turn in any work only for them to attend a college and have their academic careers ruined because they're not ready. We learned that many people don't give two shits about caring, real caring, not lip service about others. Also, some people are very gullible and will fall for misinformation to the point of taking deworming medicine thinking it would protect them from the virus. That the government is a corrupt and inept organization that really does not have the interests of the greater population in mind. And that the vast majority of the population are hysterical sheep that pretend to follow science, but actually follow their feelings. We're in the second biggest COVID surge right now, and no lockdowns, no public safety measures, no news coverage, no one wearing masks. We learned nothing. And the weakest and most vulnerable of us are paying the price due to the actions of the most selfish of us. To stay home when you're sick. At the beginning of the pandemic it was stay home to flatten the curve, only for everyone to walk around in public while they are sick during flu season. Although to be fair, we didn't really learn that lesson during COVID either. My country is still terribly dependent on shit from China and elsewhere, and my politicians are too stupid to move rapidly to address it. One would think getting caught lacking would light a fire, but alas. The pain wasn't enough to learn from yet. Long COVID. It still affects millions of people and you can still get it. Trust me when I say you do not want it. It has upended my life. Going on 6 months now. Destroys your energy and mental acuity. And we still don't have any cure for it. That we all have needs, and not to be selfish. Just because you may be able to doesn't mean the next person may be able to. Many people had to go without the basics because people were buying them, leaving the expensive side of the basics. While China learned that if they ever do want to launch a biological attack against us, that they can count on Republicans and conservatives to help them spread that shit around and oppose all mitigation efforts aimed at controlling it. Based on the people at my work, not coming into work sick. I have gotten sick the last 3 times from waves of whatever, puke, shit yourself, until you want to die because these dudes think they're tough for coming in. No bro, go home. How to shut things down and socially distance. How to wear a simple fucking mask when we don't feel well. To stay home when we're sick. Basically, it seems, as numbers go back up, that we learned nothing except how to bake. Most of the teaching tools we introduced were soon to be forgotten, at least in my country. We could have done better, keep some of them and experiment a little bit more with flipped education and other amenities. Science is fucking great. They came up with a new style of vaccines for that in a relatively short period of time. Instead of learning that, People vilified and wrote off the vaccines and all science instead. Why can't we have the big family gatherings in the summertime outside? Christmas and Thanksgiving are just climate change petri dishes for new respiratory illnesses on top of dangerous travel conditions with weather. If we get attacked by aliens or something dangerous, some people will run towards them. Some people will deny that they exist. Some people will demand to be let into their church to continue praying. How to use masks. I watched someone take their mask off to sneeze so they didn't have a gross mask against their face. And in a personal note, I very quickly forgot to wash hands for 20 seconds. US sick day policies are barbaric in many companies, which forces people to come to work sick and spreads germs and pandemics, but apparently, profits matter more than people's health. Remote work could have seriously shifted the economies of so many major cities. Instead, many of the companies with large offices force their employees to go back to work as soon as they could. That Anthony Fauci is an idiot fuck up. He bitched up the response to AIDS 40 years ago and never got any better. One of Trump's biggest failings was listening to that arrogant asswipe. Our food companies are too consolidated and require workers to be in cramped, unsafe conditions ripe for viral infection. We need to break up our food conglomerates for national security. That maybe, following CDC recommendations at the beginning of a pandemic and ignoring the rantings of a reality TV star who couldn't profitably run a casino was the best choice of action. We seem to have learned nothing. COVID and RSV are surging in my area and people are acting like it isn't happening. I know 6 or so people with COVID right now. One is in the hospital.